Hi everyone, and welcome to the Purl Girl Knits podcast, episode 14. I am Catherine, your host, and we are today Saturday, June 3rd. Thank you so much if you are a returning viewer. Your support means a lot to me, and if you are a new viewer, well, thank you so much for checking me out, and I hope you will enjoy and consider to subscribe. So for today's episode, we will have a little bit of cross stitch, a little bit of knitting, a little bit of crochet, but I'll have to frog it and I'll explain that to you when we'll get there. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the owl blanket at the end of this episode. Before we actually start, I would like to do a little bit of administrative things for the Mystery Monthly sock along that we have with the podcast. If you're interested, you can go on the Ravelry groups page under the Purl Girl Knits podcast, and all the details will be in there. I just wanted to say two things. Join in if you want. And also you always have until, because it's a year-long knit along, and also because you knit a pair of socks every month, I always give people until the 7th of the following month to enter their socks for the month that we are in. So for example, the socks for May, you have until June 7th to actually enter them. Also, I wanted to just remind everyone that the winners are actually selected by a random number generator. So every month you can win a skein of yarn, and a random number generator will select who wins, and we'll see who will be the lucky numbers for the rest of the months remaining in the year. Lucky, for the first 4 months, we actually had different winners every month, which is actually also exciting. So please consider joining, and I hope I will see you over there. For my June Mystery Monthly sock yarn, I opened the bag. We're June 3rd. I opened it yesterday, I believe. And this is the yarn that I will be knitting with. It is Lorna's Lace. It is the Soulmate base, which is 55 superwash merino, 15% nylon, and 30% viscose. And you have 425 yards for 100 grams skein, and it is in the color 76, which is Aslan. I decided I bought some knitting needles before the last podcast that I talked on the last podcast, and I didn't try the 9-inch circular yet, and I was waiting for my June socks to actually try it, and surprisingly, I had 2 skeins of this yarn, and so this is my second one. The other one that I had was in February, and in February I tried a 9-inch circular, and I didn't quite like it, but didn't quite dislike it either, so I wanted to try another one, and surprisingly, when I decide to actually try it for another time, it's with the same yarn. So we'll have to see. I'm really happy though that the coincidence ended up being like this, because I'll be able to actually compare both socks and see. But I did just a plain vanilla sock the first time that I did it with this yarn, because it wasn't on a 9-inch circular, and I don't want to have 2 pair of vanilla socks of the same exact yarn. So I will try to find a nice little pattern to go with it that I will actually be able to knit with a 9-inch circular, and then we'll go from there. So here we go. So let's start with cross stitch. I did talk in a couple of episodes that I was doing the Sweetest Pie stitch along from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and it actually started on the 15th of May. So I have this to show you today. What they did, because it's a year-long stitch along, what they've actually done is that on the first release, which was May 15, they released the general pattern, if you like, with the pie number 1. So if you want, you can actually stitch everything except for the pies, and then just add the pies as you go, or do a little bit of both, a little bit of general stitching and a little bit of pie knitting, pie stitching, not knitting. Yeah, so I've decided to do the general stitching that was going with my piece of pie, and as I go, I stitch a little bit of the general stitching pattern around it. You'll understand when you'll see it in a second. And I think I will do that every month. I will do some pie and a little bit of the general stitching until I'm done with the general stitching, and then just add on pies as I go. So here we go. Isn't this cute? Try to zoom in a little bit. You won't be able to see really clearly. There's some eyes and a little mouth over here between the two cheeks. But here we go. And so when I say general stitching pattern, I'm talking about like those shelves. I'm calling that a shelf. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but because you have this and then you have like the little platter, for example, for the pie. And so there's another one over here, and there will be another one at the bottom. Like this pie is literally the centerpiece of, whoops, it's getting washed, of the pattern, and then you have like a border all around and things like that. So they give you all the tools to do the borders and those things and extra little accessories in there. And the only thing missing, as I said earlier, is the pies. I'm stitching this on a 28 count linen. It has a little bit of shimmer in it. I don't know if you can see it. The sun is like exactly in lined up with my window, so it might wash a little bit of things, but yeah. So I really liked it. I really liked stitching the pie. As soon as it was done, I just thought it was so cute and adorable. And they all come with a recipe to go with the pie. And I really wanted to make the chocolate cream pie for it, and I just didn't have time. I just wanted to like get on the pie and stitch it. And so I didn't quite have time to do the recipe for this pie yet, but I will for sure eventually make the recipe that go with the pie and then just do it at the same time. But here we go. And did you see that little stitch marker? He has like all baking tools and in there. Isn't it cute? I find this really cute. I really, really like to bake, so for me this is super cute. So here we go. The Sweetest Pie Stitch Along from the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. So let's talk about crochet a little bit. I'm going to talk to you about a pattern that I'm doing, and for the crocheted hexagon, I will wait until I talk about the knitting so that I talk about the knitting and the yarn and also the crocheted hexagon at the same time. So I have some leftover pink yarn. This is actually really, really deep stash, and I will never use it. I'm not a fan of pink and purple. I bought this yarn to make a gift to someone when I learned to knit, and I never give it because it was not gift worthy by any means. And so because of that, I had that yarn, and I was knitting so tightly when I first started to knit that I had quite a few balls for it. And I never use it because I'm not going to use pink. So basically I've been using this yarn so far to just cut some little pieces of yarn and attach my handspun yarn together when I wash it and things like that. I don't believe you can buy it anymore. I think this is discontinued. It was some Red Art eco-friendly bamboo yarn. Really lovely. I would buy it again if it was still out there. So if you do see some, by all means, go ahead. It's a great yarn. It's strong, and because I have a cardigan made out of another color of this one, and I think I have another color as well upstairs. But no, it's fantastic, and it's machine washable, and it's great. So I've used this, and I have a friend who has a really, really gorgeous little girl, and she is all into princesses and pinks and all those things. I think she's about 3 now, I believe. And so I decided to make her a Mermaid Tail cocoon. The pattern is called the Mermaid Tail by Cindy Krominga, and it is a free pattern on Ravelry. I think it directs you onto a website, but it's free. And So this is how it looks like. And so this would be the waistband. And then you'll have all the little mermaid worthy stitch. But when you're stitching it, you're actually stitching it like this. So you start from there and then you go over there. And then you're just gonna turn it around. The stitch is beautiful. I am knitting this with I am not knitting, I'm crocheting it with a 4mm hook that I have. Unfortunately, I think this is just slightly too small for the yarn. And it is really, really dense and it doesn't have a nice fabric if you want. And so I think that I will frog it and take a hook possibly one size or even 2 sizes bigger to actually have a better stitch definition on there. So this will get frog and will be sadly put aside for a little bit because I have other projects that I want to get done. But definitely possibly midsummer or mid or late summer, I will get this back and actually do it with a better hook size. So let's get into knitting. If you remember, if you are a returning viewer, you will remember that I did talk a couple of times about the blanket that I did for my partner's office, and then I wanted to do 2 cushions that would go with it because I had 2 half skeins of not the same yarn, but it was the same company, the same look kind of thing, but a little slightly different. And so I was knitting the front, and my sister proposed to weave the back. And so I give her a skein of yarn that is exactly like the blanket so that she can weave the back, and I was knitting the front out of those 2 different skeins. And so I will show you the yarn. So it is by Borgo dei Pazzi. And this is the nature section. And I think the blanket that I did, I'll put a photo here. And the blanket that I did, if I recall correctly, was the natural base, if we want to call it like that. So this one is 100 gram and has 82 yards in it, and it is 100% organic wool. I got this, I think it was my local yarn store had, they have 2 big sale a year, one in the spring and one in the fall, and I got it, I think at the spring one, if I recall correctly, and it was like $1 for the skein, so I just took it. And so this is how it knitted up. And just as a quick reminder, or if you're your new viewer, this was the one for the second pillow, which is just slightly different. Now that I've knitted this one and that I can see both of them, I'm kind of scared that this is going to be too many colors for what I want. Because this has 2 different shades of brown, and this has brown and white, and the blanket is this brown. So I'm not too sure yet if I'm gonna use them for the pillow covers that I wanted to do or not. The reason why, it's just way too much color. So I've put the blanket on top of the couch, and I've put the pillows there, and I've put those 2 knitted fabrics in front of the 2 pillows, and I'm not too sure if I like it or not. So I will leave it like that for a little bit, and then in a few weeks from now, I will see if it grew on me or not. And we'll see from there if I do something else, or if I like it and I just go with it. I did knit those 2 with a US 36, which is, sorry, a 20 millimeter needle. So first let's talk about socks. I did finish my May pair of socks for the Mystery Monthly sock along. I was pretty well, I was almost done on the last podcast. I had one entire sock and I was just before the heel of the second sock on the last podcast. And I did finish it, I think, the day after I podcasted last. So here are my socks. They are not matching and I am okay with it. And so this is Regia, the Arnie and Carlos design. I believe this was part of their first or second installment because they had different year of designs. So I think it was the first, but it might have been the second. I'm not too sure. This is the color 03657. And it is a 50-gram ball, so you have about 230 yards in a ball. And the little cream that I used is from the Fiber Seed. I took 2 minis when I went there. So the Fiber Seed, it is on the seedling base, which is 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon, and it is 18 grams for 60 yard, and it is in the natural color. I've knitted those with a 2.5 millimeter needle, 32 inches fixed circular from Knitter's Pride. And I did a contrasting toe, heel, and cuffs. I did a rounded toe. Started with 28 stitches, 14 on each needle, and went up to 64. Knitted my socks, did a fish lip kiss heel, and did a twisted 1x1 rip. I like the twisted 1x1 because it gives you a prettier definition of the knit stitch over there on your rib. But the only thing about that is that generally they're kind of leaning in one direction. But I'm okay with it. So, May Mystery Monthly Sock Along. And so the next project is a pair of socks that I needed for my sister since she weaved the back of the cushion. And so I was going to knit her a pair of socks for it. I did use Edge Hug Fiber. It is Twisted Sock. It is a special club colorway from last summer, which is called Candy Floss. And it is 100 gram for 365 meters, 80% BFL, and 20% nylon. I used this for the main color, and then I did a contrasting toes and heel, and I used a sock mini, which is in the Skinny Dip colorway. It is a 20 gram mini, so 80 meters, 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon in Skinny Dip. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to... It is later in the day than I normally podcast, and so I think the sun is just like perfectly in my window right now. So it is this speckled space pattern, and I will put the name of the designer here down below. And here's how it knits up. Just plain knit stitch, and then here's with a little bit of patterning in it. And I did the contrasting toe, heel, and I did use my 2.5 interchangeable twist Chiagu needles for those socks, and it was fantastic. I really, really enjoy them. They are great. I like the cord. It's fantastic. Really. I didn't buy the kit because I know there was some sizes in there that I would probably never use myself. And so I just went on Etsy and went to a seller that had tips and cable, and I just assemble my own little circular needle, and here we go. but I love them. I always loved Chiago's, and with that special cable, it's perfect for Magic Loop. It's really, really perfect. And with the toe and the heel, I still do have about all of this left of the mini that I have. The only thing with this is that I waited the mini after the first sock because I was scared that I might not have enough for both socks. And my scale told me that I used 11 grams and that I had 10 grams left. And so I knew I would be playing a little bit of yarn chicken. And so I cut the yarn a little bit too short for the Kitchener of the first heel, sorry. And so I had to actually cut a little bit of yarn, attach it so that I can finish my Kitchener. It was looking a little bit messy. And when I finished my second sock and that I realized that I had all of this left, I, like, literally, my scale lied to me. And so what I've done is that I've undone the heel of the first sock, and I've redid it since I had enough yarn for it. And because it was messy and all that stuff, I didn't want it to reuse the same yarn, the same little bit of yarn. So I did a mini hexagon. Here we go. So I did an hexagon out of it just so that it wouldn't go to waste. And still have all of this left. It's quite a bit. So I will weave in the ends and then it will be done. I did, and I did a 1x1 twisted rib as well on this one. Knitting. I will show you just a little bit of hexagon. Oops, before I move on. So those were some hexagons that I did for the May socks that I've done with some leftovers that I had. So you have 2 of those and 2 of the cream color. And I also just had a little bit of leftovers from the Star Wars sock that I've made for my partner on the last podcast. So I've done this one, done this one, done this one, and I've done this one. And then, oops, hexagons are falling everywhere. And then I've done also 2 hexagons with the color from Hedgehog for my sister's socks. And since we are in knitting, I have a little bit of a confession to make. I did start something that I say that I would probably never start. And I started it. That's what social media does to you. It grows on you. And so I've started a cozy memory blanket. It's happening. It's happening. So this is some of the Star Wars socks that I had. This is my April socks that I had for my Mystery Monthly sock along. And this is a yarn that I actually natural dyed last week. So it was just a 10-gram mini that I used to do some test. So it is a light peach salmon kind of color. So it is a really, really light pink. And I'm doing it with some yarn in between everything that will actually kind of put everything together if we want. So I'm using the same beige that I'm using for my crocheted hexagon because I know that it's a yarn that I can easily find and easily get. So here it is. And I have 2 other squares done as well. I have one made out of my sister's socks and one of the other section of the Star Wars. And I really like the nice ridge that I get in the middle of my square. My squares are about 3 inches per side, and I'm doing it with 49 stitches and a 3-stitch decrease in the middle. I will link in my show notes on the Ravelry group the video tutorial that I used on YouTube. She is a great lady and she has all the steps that you need if you want to do this kind with a yarn in between. And she really explains everything. It's fantastic. I also did a little hexagon with the natural dye that I've done. And if you recall correctly, I was doing a magic knot ball with all the little leftovers that I have. And as I added my last one yesterday, it's growing. It's really growing. And I'm kind of realizing that it's a lot of yarn. And these would have all been little bits that I would have probably thrown away because I would have not had enough to do anything. But when you add them together, it starts to actually be a lot of yarn. And so I'm going to keep adding to it, and I'm probably going to do a striped granny blanket of some sort, or I don't know, something in that line to use it. And then I'll decide if I want to keep it or if I want to give it to somebody or what I'm going to do with it. But this is all some stuff that I would have thrown away anyway. So might as well make something out of it. And I'm going to continue to add on to this master magic ball. And we'll see. But it's really starting to be quite a lot. I have probably a little bit over 50 grams right now, or around 50 grams. This is all bits that I would have thrown away. But when you put them together, then it will eventually create something. The last thing I'm going to talk to you today is about my owl blanket. This is a double knit blanket that I was doing for my really, really good friend when she was pregnant. The baby is now 1.5. And the blanket is still on the needle. Just saying. This was a fail. She knows it. We talked about it. It's all good. I talked about it on the last time that I talked about it. I did talk about how I didn't like how my stitches were not pretty and how my border is extremely messy, and I dislike it. I dislike that. And so I was thinking about it. So the other day I picked it up with a great ambition of just getting it done. And as I picked it up, because I have 4 skeins of yarn on it, I was untangling my yarn and then I dropped stitches. But I dropped more than like a few. I dropped like quite a bit. So I picked it up. I lost a few, I think, that like unraveled. And I don't know how to fix double knit. This is my first ever double knit project, so I'm not good enough to know how to fix mistakes like this. So when that happened, I put it back in the basket, and that was that. Isn't that what you do? And so I think that I found yesterday the perfect solution for me for the double knitting. It would mean to restart the blanket. So it is unfortunate due to all the knit that I have done so far. And if you want to see the other side, here's the other side. But if it makes me happier, then I think that might be what's gonna happen. And so I think I find a perfect solution for my border, which is gonna be less messy. So if I change this for my border and possibly go down a needle size to have tighter stitches, because double knit made my stitches really more loose than they normally are. And so I think that if I go down a size or two, and if that solution that I found for my border works great, well, then it's going to be fantastic. And if I redo it, I can also change the middle part so that I'm actually going to knit something and not be sick of it. Because that middle section is the reason why this blanket is not done. Because this is not fun to knit. This pattern is just kind of, it's just a lot of changes, and but the owls, like, I've knitted the owls faster than I've knitted this part. It's ridiculous. I am using Cascade Yarn Sateen Worsted for it, in multiple colors. I don't have them all with me. The main colors are this yellow, which is the color 41, and the white, which is color 21. And then this light green is color 32. And I don't have the dark blue color with me right now. And on there, what did they say? It's 100% acrylic, 225 yards for 100 grams. And so they do say to use 4.5 to 5 millimeter needle. My gauge is generally right in the middle, so I would have normally, for a normal knit, I would have taken 4.75 for this one. And what is the sizes? And those needles are Chiagu. They are 3.75 millimeter needle. And I am still having such a loose fabric out of this. So I will do a swatch with a smaller size needle, as well as doing the one for the border, and see how that goes. And if it is actually giving me a better product, then I will definitely start over again. It is part of, it's part of the process, I guess, right? And yeah, because it will make me way happier, and if it makes me happier, then I will be more than happy to give this to somebody else. So if not, I have other options that I talked to her about, that I can go and start if I realize that the options that I thought would be great and would work are actually not working. So I will definitely keep you posted, for sure, on that owl blanket. And also I am sewing a dress and doing some natural dye experiment. So I will probably make a special episode, possibly the next one, or possibly just a normal episode followed by a special little section, because I know not everybody necessarily wants to hear about sewing and natural dye experiment when this is mostly a knitting and a crochet podcast. Once in a while there's some spinning, but not a lot lately. And so yeah, if you have an opinion on if I should just put it on the podcast for the sewing and the natural dye experiment, please leave a comment below, or leave a comment in the Ravelry group under today's episode show notes. I would be more than happy to hear what you have to say. The only thing is that if I do tag along some sewing and natural dye to the next episode, then definitely it will be a longer it will be a longer one for sure. Instead of if I do 2 different ones, the normal podcast and then a special segment, then I can keep those 2 different videos at the normal half-hour length, approximately. So if you have an opinion, please let me know. And thank you for watching. I hope you had a great episode. I'm sorry for the sun. I know the sun had a lot. It was just later in the day, and I'm sorry. I am sorry. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a great week, guys.